Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Color Commentary Podcast, episode 109. We're going to recap Week 6, go into Week 7, and discuss my Cam Skattebo trade and whether or not I totally regret it. Pedro, how was your Week 6?
Oh, man, it was great. Cam Skattebo, wow, I did not think that his performance, he blew my expectations by double. I was expecting him to give me a consistent 12 to 15 points each week, but game 1, he scored 30 points. He single-handedly won me my game. So, a few things. That game was his coming out party. Everyone knows who he is now. And 2, it was also Jackson Dart's coming out party, because it seems that the Giants have found their franchise quarterback now, which is super scary. The NFC East is going to be a monstrous division the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it is one game. It is just one game. And we've seen Jackson Dart not do well just last week versus the Saints, right? Like Cam Skattebo and Jackson Dart. There's a meme out there where Jackson Dart's He-Man and Skattebo's that little short missile guy, and I don't remember his name. And I think it's perfect. On Sleeper, his logo is just him going like, and that's his vibe. And so here I am looking at all my running backs, and I have a lot of good running backs. So much so that I actually sat the wrong one this week. I had DeAndre Swift on my bench, and he went off finally and scored 24 points on my bench, which is better than seeing a player you just traded score 30 points who's no longer with you. So it's not over yet. A.J. Brown scored 11 points, which doesn't sound that impressive. He is doing better, and I expect it to go better as we go along. And so I am excited to sort of compare blow by blow, week by week, and see what the point total is at the end of the season, Pedro, because he's no longer the 10th round running back that I drafted him to be. He would definitely be in the top 4 rounds already, and depending on how well he does these next few weeks, he may be a round 2 or even a round 1. It just depends. He looks like the Bucky Irving of this season, where the backup emerges and they roll with it, and who knows how long he'll be able to hang on to that, right? Tyrone Tracy was last year's darling as well, and so how quickly things change in the NFL. And so I want to start by saying I lost 2 of my games and I won 1. And that's the heartbreak of having multiple, is you see how things ebb and flow. Drake London both won me a game in Yahoo and lost me a game on ESPN. I had Mr. Allen, quarterback 1. You know, I'm thinking he's going to score at least 20 points. He scores like 9 points for me in the scoring system. And it was disappointing. He was probably more disappointed to lose to the Atlanta Falcons. And like you said about coming out parties, it might be a statement game for Atlanta Falcons, the way that they won versus the Buffalo Bills and were able to tie an NFL League MVP like that.
Yeah, it seems that I think of 2 things when I see a result like that. One, it's either a statement of the emergent team, since the Falcons are an emergent team, or 2, it's also a statement of the Buffalo Bills, where maybe, I wouldn't say it's the beginning of the end, but maybe it's a state of like, well, maybe this year they are not as good going into the rest of the weeks. But I am very pleased because Michael Penix, he did score me like a decent 15 points, which was in line to my expectations. When we talked about him last week, he was one of the reasons why I like to take risks, because it seems to be that he might not be great now, but I feel like his upside is through the roof. he will be continuing to lead teams into the victory. And I just feel like I'm going to hold on to him. I don't know what's going to happen to Lamar Jackson. I feel like since they're going into a bye this week and now that they're 1-5, I could very well see the Ravens toying around the idea that if the season is lost, that they might just shut Lamar Jackson down for the season, depending on how he recovers from his hamstring.
True. I mean, that division is not lost in any way. Even at 1-5, you have Lamar Jackson. The division isn't great. The Steelers are currently the number one favorite, and they have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, right? So it's like one injury, a few games go down. Like the Steelers tend to stay above 500, but it's just like 1 week at a time, baby. If they win next week, they win the other week, they go 3-5, they go 4-5, all of a sudden they're a train ready to roll. And I'm going to look at Pedro week to week. Knuckles up. Very respectable 100 points. Carried by Skattebo. It was actually way closer than I thought.
Yeah, that was the other thing. The rest of my players, my wide receivers, didn't do that great. And McCroskey Merritt didn't do well either.
I really expected him to boom versus the Bears defense. I really did. I thought he'd give you like another 20 points. So you picked up Vidal off waivers. Very smart move. Also risky because we weren't sure which one was going to be the lead back, Haskins or Vidal. The fantasy community was leaning towards Vidal because of his metrics coming out of the draft in 2024. And then both Pittman and Adunze don't do it. And that's strange. We haven't seen them dud yet. So both your wideouts don't show up. Ferguson still shows up with a touchdown. And your bench, you have Goddard over here looking like what A.J. Brown's supposed to look like, right? So that's crazy to me. Goddard's never been this involved, so I am curious if you're going to put him back in. Here's Mr. Golden showing up and doing fantastic off of a couple big receptions, right? So maybe we're starting to see him emerge, and you may ask yourself which one to start from there. So, obviously the trade worked out in your favor. It's definitely why you won. Without those 30 points, you might have scored like in the 60s.
I would have lost if I didn't have
lost. Yeah.
I didn't have Skattebo. Like
it was over.
It was over. I probably would have lost that matchup, by 15 points without Skattebo's involvement. So what was crazy was that Penix, Krosky Merritt, and Odunze weren't playing yet. They were all played on Monday, and I was already ahead because of Skattebo. So I'm thinking, man, this is going to be a blowout. Because I was just thinking that Krosky, Merritt, and Odunze, they're just going to get it done. They're going to at least get me double digits, and I would comfortably win. But at one point, I was ahead of my opponent, our cousin Nick, by like literally 0.35 points.
Wow.
And I was like, I only needed 3 more points to win. But it was just so frustrating to see that either Krosky Merritt and Odunze, they weren't performing to what I thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
Penix was right in line. Like he scored 14.6 points. That is what I expected. That was something that I was very comfortable with keeping him there. I thought my running backs and wide receivers would carry the rest through, but it ended up being Vidal and Skattebo. Like, again, I remember last week I was willing to trade 2 players for Breece Hall, and not knowing that you probably should have used that strategy for Skattebo.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what he'd end up being. And, A.J. Brown, Skattebo, like I probably could have gotten Golden from you two, right? Instead of just one wide receiver. But again, like at the time, I just wasn't sure what was going to happen this week. I thought this was the week that Skattebo would be held in check. Everyone was looking at the Eagles defense and he wasn't projected for a ton of points. And the Eagles defense was one of the top picks in fantasy to be a defense starter, right, as a streaming defense. So in my head, Tyrone Tracy's coming back. There's some risk there. He might share the ball. So his last performance, week 5, he fumbled. And so I was seeing in my head like a downturn. And so that story didn't play out. And now it's part of my woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, which we'll go through later, is that if I just waited one more week, the amount of value I could have got from Skattebo would have been huge. Like I probably could have gotten him for another alpha running back or for a different wideout, not AJ Brown, who's a suffering asset at the moment. Like it could have been like a CeeDee Lamb or something, right? Like I really could have, if I wanted to flip him, this is the week to flip him. And so I could have waited one more week. But in my mind, I thought also that AJ Brown would have an excellent, excellent game versus the Giants, and that didn't happen either.
Yeah, funny that you say that because literally after the Skattebo game, I was fielding 2 trade offers for him.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and I rejected both of them because I was suffering at running back for a long time, and so now that I do have this stud, I am not letting him go.
Yeah, I mean, congrats, Pedro. I mean, it's something that I don't usually trade during the season. And I also am not used to having this much running back depth. And so I was looking for a 1-to-1. And in my mind, he was a bit of a risky asset. Like I wasn't sure what he ended up being. And that I had invested a strategy into Breece Hall, into DeAndre Swift, Dobbins, and I have Rachaad White and Dowdle. So like, look, I'm not so sad that I don't have a stud. Dowdle scored me 31.9 points, the only running back to do better than Cam Skattebo, right? Imagine my team if I had both. I was gonna sit Cam Skattebo, to be fair. He would have been on my bench, but I would have been happy to start him next week. And so like you, like my wideouts didn't show up, Diggs didn't show up, and of course, like when I sit Olave, he does way better. And so I'm looking at the strength of my team, and I have so much running back depth that if I made a better choice, like if I put Swift in instead of J.K. Dobbins, I don't win, but I get really close to winning. And so it's definitely a wait and see. Like, was my choice wrong? No, I think that I had the right strategy. And with this extra week, seeing Breece Hall fail, now look, he can do great this week, right? I don't know. I've been getting offers for Breece Hall for weeks now. I believe in him. He was a top 3 running back at some point in the past. And so I will be a little sad seeing Cam Skattebo continue to crush it now. Sure. But if he has a challenge, and he will this week versus the Denver defense, if he does great next week, I will admit I think I made a mistake. But it is one of the best defense in the NFL. So we'll see. We'll see if they're ready for the surge of energy that is Skattebo.
So there's a couple of things about Cam Skattebo which are pretty funny, and also with the state of the Eagles right now. One, there's this video of Cam Skattebo when he was either in high school or in college where the phone camera is just, going through all the other players. And then it goes to Cam Skattebo and he's literally headbutting the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone else has seen that, but it was just
it's definitely going viral right now.
Yeah, he is built different. He might not have a long career, but holy heck, will he have a great 3-4 years. On the same note, last week's game could have been a fluke, primarily because, as I was saying earlier about the Buffalo Bills versus the Falcons game, this game might have been an indictment of where Philadelphia is at as a team. It has been well known that they've been struggling, that Nick Sirianni has been losing his grip with the locker room a little bit. There's always been a lot of tension throughout the season, especially last year. And this might be a thing where maybe there was a lot of team dysfunction because they won it all last year. That
total
winning,
everything's good, right?
Yeah, winning solves all, right? And now that they're kind of struggling, I think it's spilling out onto the field because, like you were saying, like it should have been a no-brainer. A.J. Brown should have had a great game. Philadelphia's defense was pretty solid. The Giants have been struggling all year. And, they pulled out this pretty definitive win. So it might be something that, maybe it's something that's on Philadelphia's end. And I agree with you where with Cam Skattebo has a great game against the Broncos defense, then yeah, I could say I won that trade for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season, Pedro, and I know my wideout depth needed help. And so I wanted to win this week and I didn't. And why didn't I win? A lot of my stars and studs failed me, like J.K. Dobbins in a terrible, terrible game, Broncos and Jets, where they scored under 20 points, I think, total. And both the running backs did terribly. And so my team fell apart. I knew I was going to lose. I had a feeling like this is a game I'm going to lose unless I make a move, and I did. So I don't think the strategy was wrong. In my head, going back, yeah, Breece Hall sounds like a better move for me right now. Like if I got rid of Breece Hall and like you said, you offered me 2 players, which was AJ Brown and maybe Michael Golden or somebody. That seems better for now. I'm not ready to call it. Even if he does great next week, I'm still not ready to call it because I do see an eventual return of AJ Brown. He was a 2nd round pick for most people. He's a top 10 wideout most years, unless this is a total mess, which I don't think it is. We saw the same thing happen with Kansas City, and they had some struggles, and they wrote the ship, and now Patrick Mahomes is having the best fantasy season he's had in a long time, and he gets Rashee Rice back next week. So something needs to happen. Maybe this loss is what needed to happen, and they'll get their act together.
So I have a question for you regarding Breece Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I kind of want to know about fantasy football in general. So how do you explain Breece Hall's solid performance, and yet the Jets are 0-6? Like, how does that even happen? Like how does it, Breece Hall has been playing great, but yet the entire team just can't win.
In my opinion, Justin Fields is a huge variable. We had him on the Bears, right? And he has great games and bad games. And when he has great games, the other team is still able to put a ton of points on them. So even when they score a lot of points, their defense doesn't show up and help them out. It used to be this unstoppable defense, right? They could stop any player, any team. Sauce Gardner was feared, and now that's no longer the case. You have excellent players, but you basically only have 3 excellent players, right? And so it's not a lot of depth. If you take out Garrett Wilson, which they did, if you take out Breece Hall, which they did, if you take out, Justin Fields, which they did, there's nobody else really that they can turn to. So it's a flat team once you have, it's not enough depth. Whereas the Buccaneers are the opposite. They are such a well-coached and well-trained team. The next wideout showed up. A bunch of people I never heard of before are becoming fantasy stars. And then you see how deep a team is and how dedicated they are. So injuries reveal the organization. When something happens to a star player and they don't have someone to step up, they're just not coaching their understudies well enough and their practice squad well enough. In a lot of ways, they have to kind of be like a fantasy team, right? We know there's going to be injuries and we got to have somebody to fill the gaps. So for that reason, I didn't draft Puka Nacua. I had him last year and I lost him for weeks because of an injury. The way that he plays is extremely risky. And I saw him do excellent. And here he is, wideout 1, killing the game. And then he got hurt. And I'm not the only one that I was like, that's why I didn't draft him, because I experienced the pain of not having him before. And so sometimes that doesn't work out. They could have a healthy season and do awesome like Christian McCaffrey is currently. But once he gets hurt, a lot of fantasy managers aren't going to be like, see, that's why I didn't do it. So I would say, Pedro, The Jets are losing because of a lack of depth, and their defense is no longer the identity of the team, which I think is a problem. Changing the identity of the team takes a long time. And the Bears, I think, finally have reached that point. But they've suffered like 10 years of terrible football in order to become an offensive-minded team. And their defense did show up yesterday, which was incredible to see versus Jaden Daniels, a proper revenge game in which they won outright without any trick plays at the end, right? So many things went their way. Jake Moody ended up being fantastic, right? Left the Niners. They were like, see ya, even though he was a draft pick kicker for them. They let him go because he missed a few field goals and he got redeemed. And I think the Bears got redeemed as well. DeAndre Swift is getting redeemed. He's on my team. So the chances of you being in the top 6 is all you have to care about in fantasy football. You have to get 8 or 9 wins to get in the playoffs. That's all I care about. So I'm 3-3 in 2 leagues, 4-2 in 1. I basically need 5 more wins and I'm in. And then the playoffs, it just starts over again. It's like a new game because it once you get to that point, you're basically wondering like who's healthy, who's not. And then the defenses and the kickers matter so much more. And you actually start looking ahead and start going, ooh, I really need to pick up this defense 2 weeks earlier because that'll give me the edge. And so that's what's exciting about being in the playoffs, Pedro, is that all of that data gathering, all of that little minutia starts to play out more and more as you get into the playoffs.
Well, I want to talk about the playoffs because it's been a long time since I've been in fantasy, and I'm not really clear on when the playoffs begin in fantasy. Usually, like, what week does that start? Because I'm imagining that, you know, by week 17, week 18, I'm sure that most good teams that are going to the playoffs are sitting people. So how does usually fantasy football account for that?
So fantasy football playoffs usually start week 15. It's the first round. Sometimes the first and second place teams have a bye, and then it goes into another round week 16, and the playoffs are week 17. Sometimes it's week 17 and 18. And so I've been in leagues where they play all the way so the championship is on week 18, and you just deal with it. You just deal with the fact that they might start their starters. They might sit their starters. You just deal with it because it's just part of the game. So someone who could win you the league could be a backup quarterback. You know, you just don't know. Like if you know, Jake Browning goes off or something happens like that because, you know, all the starters are being sat, or I'm trying to think of it, like Kyle Monangai, if the Bears are in the playoffs, will play week 18 and DeAndre Swift will sit. So it's like some leagues like it and some don't. Most don't. Most start week 15 and 6 teams are in out of 12. Some leagues it's only 4, and then they do 2-game playoff round. So it's like week 14, 15, week 16, 17. They add the scores of 2 weeks to make it more fair. And then the winner moves on. So I don't like top 4s because it's so hard to even get to that point. And I feel like it's fair to just eliminate, all right, bottom half, you're gone. And then you kind of let it play out. Like you give more people a chance because you never know which team's going to be strong at the end. Last year, my 9-6 team won the championship, and it blew my mind because like I was 6-6 at one point, and I just went on a crazy run because I had a couple players come back from injury, which was Puka Nacua was one of them, and then I just went and won it all, and it was crazy because I had Sam Laporta, who did nothing all year, and then he caught a touchdown like week 16, and it was just like this thrilling event. So that's some information for you. In our sleeper league, it's top 6 are in, and then it's 1 week. So it goes 15, 16, championship week is week 17. And if some teams are way, like they already solidified first place, they might sit their starters. But again, that's just the game. You have to be knowledgeable about football and what's happening with your teams and your players.
Well, that's certainly a lot to think about. Is it like with the playoffs, everything's kind of reset?
It's the same idea. It's matches, and you see who you're up against. And so your strategy is more or less the same, except you may want to do certain things like if they have a certain running back that they're starting and you feel like if you have the Denver defense, for instance, you're like, I'm going to start the defense. So if their running back doesn't do great and my defense does awesome, it's like a double hit, right? The better my defense does, the worse he's doing. And so you just cancel it out. You just need to win by more points. So you could find strategies where you're just trying to look at their players and try to basically edge them out and bet against them in certain ways. And it's just one and done, just like the rest of the season. So I feel like the only thing that really changes is the defenses, and you want to start looking ahead, assuming you're going to be in the playoffs week 15, 16, 17. I start hoarding defenses and picking them up early, and I know who I want to start. They don't always work out that way. Like a good matchup may not work, but you just want to have some clarity as to who you want to start because you don't want to fight those people in waivers for the same defenses.
Well, I'm currently 3-3, so I got 5 more wins to go. So
exactly.
Hopefully I'll be able to put that knowledge into some good use.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for, Pedro. Like, we're here to help people understand this crazy game we play. We're gamers, and we're watching our players do well or not do well. And so in our league currently, I think I'm in 7th place now, and I'm just outside of the playoffs, but I can still get there, right? So it's 3-3 in our league. Everybody's 3-3 basically, except for one team is 4-2, and there's 1 2-4 team. So it's the most parity I've ever seen in a league. I haven't seen it this close before. I think that's a good group of people. They all want to play fantasy. So that's exciting. That's really exciting to see that it really is anybody's game still.
Why don't we talk about that Bears game yesterday?
Oh my God, can we?
Yes.
Oh, go Bears, Pedro. I mean, from top to bottom, what an exciting game. I got my jersey on. I was in Geno's East in Los Angeles. Tons of Bears fans. I was eating, get it, a deep dish pizza with an Italian roast beef topping. Oh. It was heaven. I was like in communion. I was talking to the Pope with Mike Ditka and just loving life, Pedro. Like, what a great setting. What a great game. I mean, you know, if people really feel like Caleb Williams is not the quarterback of the future, I think this game can start shutting them up. He has been playing great. I think they don't like his attitude. They don't like his painted nails. But he looked calm, cool, and collected when he made that final drive to get that field goal.
I think it's a generational thing with Caleb Williams. It's just, that's what those kids are into now. And, you know, if he keeps playing that way, he can paint his nails however he wants. Like, like as long as it, you know, keeps, you know, piling on the victories, like, sure, whatever. Like, all quarterbacks, all athletes have these quirks. So I don't understand, like, what the big deal is. And I remember you were texting me and you had your little, you had your luchador mask on.
Yeah.
Did you have that on the entire time?
I always wear it when they're winning. So I was wearing it a good amount. People loved it. They really loved the mask. So I took it off when I was eating pizza. But it's just part of it. It's part of the magic. The mask is 2-0. So I was telling everyone there when I went to the Raiders game at Dave & Buster's with Jamar and how I'm the only Bears fan. And we had a camaraderie, man. It's just like the nasal A came out. The surly attitudes came out. You know, talking about which suburb you live in. Someone from Oak Lawn was there.
Oak Lawn.
Grew up right next door. So it's this crazy feeling, you know, how oddly jagged the attitudes were, but also friendly. I made a lot of friends that day. We shared our contact information. But, you know, as Bears fans, we were just incredibly angry at the officiating. It just felt so one-sided. We got called on everything. They got called on nothing. It felt like they were trying to tip it to the Commanders, to the home team. And it was like, what gives? I saw Roman Dunze get a touchdown and they called it back for illegal formation, which maybe it was. They weren't completely in line, but that might have helped my fantasy day. DeAndre Swift looked incredible, like a different person. So this is what I think. Ben Johnson had a couple of weeks to prep. They surprised them. They had great schemes. They fed DeAndre Swift the ball when they saw that it was working and they didn't look back. They didn't have to throw that much. Colston Loveland looked like he had a role. So did Cole Kmet. So who knows, man? And Jake Moody, I think, just took the job from Pinheiro. I don't know how. From Cairo Santos. Even though Cairo Santos is actually the most accurate kicker the Bears have ever had in franchise history, I don't know how you go back to him.
Oh, man.
Because of the hot hand, right? What do you do?
Or the hot foot.
The hot foot. Jake Moody's got that hot foot.
Oh, man. Is there a kicking controversy now? Is there going to be a kicker competition? Being like, oh, who's going to play? Is it going to be
That's good news for the Bears, because it's not a quarterback controversy. It's a kicker controversy. Is it going to be Santos, the Brazilian kicker, or is it going to be good old Jake Moody of the US of A?
Well, I could probably see them maybe trading him and getting some draft picks or maybe getting something else. But
I just think that you win the game for the Bears. I don't see how you sit someone like that. And Santos may be hurt. Maybe he goes to the practice squad. They let him nurse his injury and they just kind of let him be there until inevitably Jake Moody misses a field goal and then Santos is back in.
Yeah, or maybe the IR or something. But can't
put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Nah, man, you can't put the hot foot back in the shoe.
He's got that hot foot.
He's got that hot foot.
That shit, man. We should try to make it a thing.
Like hot foot.
Hot foot Moody. What else did you think when you saw that game? I mean, you watched it. Were you excited? Like, what was the good news for you?
So, truth be told, I've only caught a little bit through whatever apps that I have, but I caught the very tail end, and it was the Jake Moody kick. And I was like, this should be makeable. It is in the rain. But I have been through this movie before. And I just kept remembering that Cody Parkey kick, even though it was a playoff game, even though it was 2018, I was like, I would not be surprised if we missed this one, because that's how our team has been.
Yes.
And so when I saw in the app, like, because I usually follow it on ESPN and they have the game cast. And so I was like refreshing it for it. And then when I saw the score go blip, 25-24, and I was like, oh my God, because
they blocked a kick earlier in the game.
Oh,
so
okay.
It could have happened again. They didn't have good coverage and they blocked a field goal. And so I was nervous. I just wanted them to score a touchdown because I was nervous about the kick. I was nervous about the history of Bears losing. And believe me, everyone there was just ready for the Bears to lose. Like, everyone's just like, and here we go again. Like, as Bears fans, as a lot of long-suffering team fans are, we were just like, we didn't believe it until the end, until we saw the kick go through. And then we lost it, and it was Bear Down Chicago Bears. The owner had a speaker and a sign with the words, and we were singing along. Sweet. So it was awesome, man. And so the Bears, are 3-2, winning record. Ben Johnson looks like the hero, but it is just 1 week in football. They won't have as much time to prepare, and we'll see if this was a mirage or not. Like, maybe they needed more time with his system and they were able to click. It does give them more confidence. It is a good team. They beat a good team finally. Yes. And I think that should be the message. We beat a great team, and that's who we are. We beat great teams.
And all the players paid attention this time.
They kept replaying that Hail Mary at the top of the hour, man. Like, they were just, look at that, and the guy's just waving around, and he's still on the Bears, and he didn't mess up the game this time. I think the Bears were acutely aware that move lost the head coach's job, like we talked about last week, right? So, Wow, what a game. I mean, it was just so exciting. We talked about week 6, Pedro's teams. Let's go through my teams and how well they did. I'm going to start with the Hockey Leagues and my matchup that I had. This week is tough because I lost my quarterback. Mr. Allen has a bye, but maybe he needs the bye to think about his last loss. So Josh Allen is not starting. I have Trevor Lawrence for now, but I think I'm going to change it. I wanted to review last week, though. So Josh Allen scored me 10 points. Terrible. Basically lost me the game. Quinshon Judkins, who was the flavor of the week for a while, for a few weeks. The Pittsburgh defense might be for real. He scored me 3.6 points. So I'm a little worried about him, but his next matchup is Miami, so wheels up. He should get 200 yards. At least that's what it seems like every running back has done. Rico Dowdle is Cam Skattebo Jr. right now. He scored the only running back to score more points. He's why I was so confident that I could trade away a key player like Skattebo, and he did great. And imagine if I had Skattebo in my team.
That would have been the terrible twos, man. Like, man.
That would have been incredible. AJ Brown did what he was supposed to do. He scored 11 points. He should have done better. There were a few missed throws. I'm hoping that they get this right. I think I might start him versus the Vikings because he's such a good wideout and it's going to be a close game. I believe he could just get a long touchdown. I know a lot of people are saying to bench him, but usually under pressure, that's when the best show up.
I agree with that. At least he started to wake up for you, at least. Like,
there's a point differential of 19 so far, but he did, he did what I wanted him to do. I wanted him to do more than 10 points, and he did. Michael Pittman Jr., on the other hand, didn't. He's been so reliable that it finally didn't happen. 2 other wideouts boomed that week that weren't him. Everyone was doing great versus that Arizona defense. They barely won also with a backup going up, and it just wasn't his game. Everybody else, I think he was actually covered well in that. Darren Waller's magical journey. He's got a touchdown every week since he started. It happened again. I don't know if this is going to keep happening. I'm actually going to try to get a tight end off waivers because I think the magic might run out. But so far, Darren Waller looks awesome. Funny enough, I'm probably going to pick up Harold Fannin Jr., who I dropped for Darren Waller because Njoku might be hurt. So if he's hurt, Fannin looks like a great rookie tight end that nobody drafted. So I might try to pick him up again. And Pedro, we share a player in Roma Dunze. I was waiting for him to be my savior to save my game, and he didn't. Who could have saved my game was DeAndre Swift, who was on my bench, and he was projected for 13.1 points. And so, it was a tough call. I had everyone else projected for more. How could I sit Quinshon or Rico? I just couldn't, and I probably should have sat Quinshon, but who knows? We don't know how these games play out. I'm never sitting DeAndre Swift again. He's only made me pay for it. So he's a starter for me here on out.
So at what point on Sunday did you realize, oh no, I should have sat Rome and should have put it
right away?
Swift.
He had, great runs. He was running 5 yards per carry. It just looked like a different man. Or they figured out how to really, block for him. He was getting in between tackles. He was running like a majestic horse for his 56-yard touchdown. When that happened, I was both happy and sad because I was like, believe me, I was on my way to the game and I was like, who do I put in? A Dunze or Swift? A Dunze or Swift? And I was like, I just need 10 points. I'll put a Dunze because Josh Allen should get 20 and I'll be good. That did not happen at all. So if I put Swift in, I would have won. The good news is he's on my bench. I could do better next week. I'm only 3-3. I'm moving on. This is an IDP league, so Jordan Brooks has been an excellent add. If he's on your waivers, go get him. Miami sucks, but he's an excellent linebacker. He tackles all the time. He's done great for me. The Browns didn't do great, obviously, and so I'm going to drop them, even though they held opponents pretty well. Their offense sucks, so they just don't put that defense into good spots. And then Pinheiro, holy moly, 17.5 points. He's going to stay on my team. He used to be on the Bears, funny enough, and here we are. celebrating Eddie Pinero's 17.5 points. I was looking good on Monday, and who knew that Josh Allen would be one of my biggest disappointments.
Casual fantasy football player here. What is an IDP league?
Individual defensive player. So there are leagues where you can start individual defensemen, and it's when you become such a hardcore fantasy player that you're like, this isn't enough. I need more. Like you become a wine connoisseur and you need different strategies, different picks. I had it once in one of my leagues back in the day with my friends in Chicago, and I got rid of it the next year because it was very complicated. But it was because we had multiple positions, a linebacker, a safety. So in this league, it's sort of like another kicker. You just put in someone on defense and hope they score you around 10 points. And so they have about the same variability as a kicker. And it makes me learn more about the defensive players as I become more accustomed to that side of the football. So it's kind of a neat way to learn who's on defense.
Oh man, that is like deep in the weeds.
It
like,
gets,
how many years would you like how would...
This is my first time going back to IDP. This was a league I was invited to, and they added this defensive player. It's been a league that's been going on for 5+ years. And like I said, with each year and as people play, they want to spice it up a little bit. And so they start going into individual defensive players. They start going into no kicker, no defense, 3 wideouts. Like you can have like standard leagues look like ours do in Sleeper, Pedro. And most standard leagues are full point PPR. So we're half point PPR. Why? Because there are players that sometimes catch the ball a lot and get no yards. And how is that effective? So instead of a full point, they get half a point. So players like my man Chris Olave, who would be scoring like 17 points in a full PPR league, is only scoring like 12, which makes more sense to me because his impact for how many receptions he gets, like if he only gets 5 yards, it's like, oh, come on. Like a whole point for that. And so it makes it a little bit more even when you have certain players. Like, yeah, it makes it more even. I think full point PPR is too many points to give to a wideout.
Got it. Being schooled.
Yeah, so that's how this league is different. Some leagues don't have an IR spot. Some do. This one does. So Omarion Hampton's there. So I had a lot, my stars were on bye, Minnesota. And my biggest regret, I mean, Jacoby Myers didn't do anything yet. It was like, oh man, I guess Swift's just got to be in no matter what. This is my Yahoo League, dog wearing sunglasses. I'm now 4-2. I'm in 4th place. This was the same league where I barely won last week. I won again. And what's crazy is I had the least confidence in this team. I had 3 injuries on this team running back wise. I lost Aaron Jones. I lost Trey Benson. I lost James Conner, and I picked up Rachaad White, who did great, 16 points. J.K. Dobbins, dud, 4 points. Dallas Goedert, who you had on your bench, Pedro, I started him. Holy mackerel, 21 points. That basically won me the game. And then Drake London scored like a high-end quarterback, getting 28.8 points. So I was both happy and sad. My opponent had Drake London. I'm like, no, just scored enough points. It's like, stop. And he blew up here. So my strategy of going wideout heavy has paid off when these things happen. The booms of certain players occur, and running back waiver wires can save the day. Pittsburgh was a fantastic start. Jason Myers did pretty well. And on my bench, I don't have much. This bench is very small. They only allow 5 and no IR spots. You have to be really careful who you have. Caleb Williams actually did better than Jalen Hurts, which, is interesting. He is my quarterback for the bye for when I have Jalen Hurts. So I've thought very far ahead. So he's just going to hang out there in my bench most weeks. And Rashee Rice, again, like I said, like the Pokemon he is, he appears next week. And so now my team starting wideouts are Drake London, Justin Jefferson, and Rashee Rice. I knew I just needed to hang on to week 7, and then now my team looks even stronger. I wish I had Kamani Vidal on my team. I had Hassan Haskins on my team, and if I just had another starting running back. I have Tyler Algier, who's a great handcuff, and also sometimes he scores points. He got 10 points for me. I'm going to keep him. I'm going to try to get Vidal, but because I'm so high in place, I don't think I'm going to get him. So this is, I'm riding the hot hand right now. Dog wearing sunglasses is looking pretty good. My sleeper team, my team that I shot myself in the foot in, trading Skattebo away, still has a lot of depth. So I lost. My opponent killed it. They had Genty, Prescott, Williams, Kyron Williams, Jackson Smith and Jigba. This is a scary team. They traded for Devontae Adams because Tyree McLaurin was hurt. And so I saw this lineup and was like, there's no way I'm going to win. Like, these players are too good, which is what pushed me to a trade, which only netted me 11 points. And J.K. Dobbins, we talked about, didn't do so great. Here is Cam Little, who did very little for me. In fact, he hurt me with -2 points. The Eagles defense, I don't know why I held on to them. I guess I read a lot of literature and analysis that the defense was going to do great. It was the opposite. So I'm a little disillusioned with this defense. I think I need to move on. I have to find a better one and watch them boom. And here it is, Mr. Swift on the bench, who really could have turned my total around. I might not have won, but it would have been way closer.
So I think now this is a good time to get into coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can hear it. I've named a few. So let me remove the screen, make ourselves a little bigger. Here are my coulda, woulda, shouldas. I could have waited one more week before trading Scam. I could have waited one more week before trading Cam Skattebo. Good God, what was I thinking? I was thinking that he'd be okay. I was thinking that the Eagles would show up. I was thinking that Tracy might cut into his carries, and he didn't. And to be honest, I would have benched him this week. And to be honest, I would have traded him this week for someone huge like a CeeDee Lamb, because again, I have too many running backs. So maybe I would have traded DeAndre Swift because he blew up. I needed better wideouts. I think the strategy was right. The player was wrong. We'll see about next week. But so far, in a one-game sample, I am negative 19 points, and we'll keep track of that. So I could have just waited one more week and just seen, hey, maybe Cam will do well versus a good defense, and I'd have a different player and a different output. I wouldn't be trading for A.J. Brown. I'd be aiming sky high for Cam Skattebo's worth at the moment. I would have started any other kicker other than Cam Little, who scored me -2 points. Wow, this kid hit a 70-yard field goal and then did nothing, actually worse than nothing for me this week. It kills me to see my team score 100 points and my defense and kicker combining for 1 point. That can't happen anymore. I'm not the biggest fan of defense and kicker in fantasy football, but they exist. I have to get better ones. The Eagles defense is on my list. I can't have them on my team anymore. I need somebody better. I should have started DeAndre Swift. It has only hurt me not to. I don't know what I was thinking. He did great against the Raiders. He's a key part of this offense with Ben Johnson's scheme. He's a starter. I think that people didn't draft him high enough, and I just got to believe he's going to keep showing up. He's done nothing but succeed and get touchdowns. So welcome to my starting lineup, DeAndre Swift. I think I said that before in another podcast, but I'm dazzled by Quinshon Judkins and other toys that I have. So DeAndre Swift is definitely in my starting lineup this week.
Oof, a lot of regret there.
It's what, man, when you have more teams, there's more regret. So I always want to get better, Pedro. I'm not in a bad spot at all. I'm 3-3, 3-3, 4-2. So, with more choices, there can be more regret.
Oof, yeah. So let me go through my coulda, woulda, shouldas. It's not as dramatic as yours since I did win my game. But if I were to change anything, I could have put in Goddard instead of Ferguson, because Ferguson ended up with 33 yards, 1 touchdown, which converted into 10.8 points, while Goddard had a pretty incredible day with 9 out of 11 receptions, 110 yards, and 1 touchdown with 21.5 points, which really would have annihilated my opponent along with Cam Skattebo. My woulda would have been putting in Golden instead of Odunze. Golden ended up with 11.7 points with 3 catches and 86 yards, while Odunze was dreadful with only not even 4.5 points. But, looking back, hindsight is 2020. But that's really my coulda and woulda. And really, there's no shouldas for me at this point. I'm pretty satisfied with how everything, at least this week, has been for my team.
Yeah, it was very much dependent on the trade. And so I'm excited to see what happens this week for your team, because it will be the future. Like, if Cam Skattebo can't deliver every week, your team may not be able to keep it up. Other players would have to show up, like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Odunze would have to come back. Pittman would have to come back. And those same players also hurt me. So sometimes the tried and true are just tried, and they're not true.
Yeah, so my team is basically on a knife's edge where, as you remember from last week's show, I was searching for answers at running back. And now it seems like that I have one, but now I might be searching for answers again for wide receiver because none of my stud wide receivers really performed. And Lamar Jackson is going to be out due to the bye this upcoming week. So, again, I'm not really excited about my matchup coming up. I might be active again on the waiver wire, but I'm just going to have to see how the rest of the week is going to be.
Pedro, you have some decisions to make. You might want to stick with your studs. They might have just disappointed for 1 week, but that's your choice as the manager of, what is it, Knuckle Down?
Knuckles Up.
That is your responsibility as managers of Knuckles Up. So happy fantasy footballing to you.
Yes, thank you.
Week 6 is gone. Week 7's coming up, and we're going to preview our 4 favorite matches, beginning with Pedro's favorite match right now.
Oh, man. So you know how much I love chaos and I love insanity. Especially in sports, and especially when some teams do bad. I'm just like, just go away. Just go all the way. Just be completely bad. So I am looking forward to the Browns versus the Dolphins. I think this is going to be the who's going to get fired second game, because holy heck, you have the Browns starting Dylan Gabriel, who is going to be just okay. And then you have the mess that is the Miami Dolphins. I think Mike McDaniel has lost that team. There's been videos circling around of Tua just really taking shots at leadership. And a lot of the pundits have said when your star player starts doing that, you have lost the locker room. And so I would not be surprised if this is Mike McDaniel's last game. And I'm always going to cheer on from Mike McDaniel being fired this week. Because I don't think he's a good coach. I think he just BS'd his way to the position. It was working for, a few years, but I think he's been really exposed as someone who doesn't know what he's doing. So I am rooting for the Browns this week. I think I really want to see Shedeur Sanders play. So I'm hoping that, I don't know if Dylan Gabriel's going to have a good game, but I really do feel like whoever loses this game will probably lose their job. And I think it's going to be the Dolphins.
We see that the Browns are favorites here. It's 2 1-5 teams. The defense of the Browns is pretty good, and this offense can score points. Achane is an excellent running back, scary good, but this is a good defense again. So for me, Pedro, I don't know if it's Mike McDaniel's fault. He was brought in to be like the Sean McVay of this team. And when a player like a quarterback, Tua, he should rise above the occasion instead of throwing people under the bus. So in a lot of ways, I think this is Tua's last year. I don't think he should be a starter anymore in this league. I think he needs to be a backup for a while, and maybe he'll resurge and come back. I just don't understand throwing people under the bus like that so publicly. Just let it happen on its own. I mean, everyone sees that this team is struggling. You're 1-5, and you shouldn't be. You should be at least like 2-4. Right, so It's going to be a good game to watch. There's a lot of popcorn to be popped for this one. I think it is Mike McDaniel's game, but I don't think Tua is going to be a starter for much longer either.
Yeah, I agree with you with Tua probably having this be the last season as a Dolphin, but I do disagree that I think what Tua said really makes more sense, primarily because he hasn't done this before. And from what I've heard and read, that he has always been the one that raises his hand and says, "Hey, this was on me. I should be doing better. We should be doing this." He really owns a lot of his mistakes, and for him to really question leadership and being like, "Hey, the players are not showing up to players only meetings. Players are showing up late to practice." And it's really him being like, "I'm doing everything that I can, and it's not my fault." And for any other player, that could be like diva behavior. But since he's been known to be a real team player, I think that that's really more an indictment of Mike McDaniel's coaching.
Well. My two favorite teams. I am very much invested in the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. I have Justin Jefferson. I also have A.J. Brown. I look at this and wonder what's going to happen. Right now, the Eagles are the favorite. The Vikings defense is supposed to be good, though in fantasy they haven't scored very well. I think that the Eagles have to get their passing attack together and also get Saquon Barkley going. It looked like the Giants had their number. They were able to stop them, and they are not known for their defense. And so I think what people see as a close game, I see as a blowout on the Eagles side. I think that the Vikings are very limited with Carson Wentz as their quarterback, and I think the Eagles are more than ready and able to make a statement game, much like the Chiefs did this week versus the Detroit Lions. They're to come out, they're going to have some changes, and I'm going to see A.J. Brown do better. At least I hope so. Anyway, I think that, Justin Jefferson will do pretty great. It may seem like a close game from time to time, but this spread and this total, I don't know. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is really Philadelphia's time to turn it around, to really get a revenge game. I'm sure the Giants' performance has really caught them off guard. And, Minnesota, they're playing with a rookie quarterback. So I think, experience is really going to matter in this game. So I can easily see how the Vikings are slight favorites, but I think that's primarily because of Philadelphia's performance from the last week.
100%. I think people are seeing it as sort of like bad things to come. I think that this can be a get it right game, but we'll see. I hope so. Either way, I've got players on both sides. I'm deciding whether to start A.J. Brown or not. I have other options, and we'll see.
How are the stakes for you with A.J. Brown? Like, if he performs well, you're going to keep him, or how good does he need to perform for your team to make you feel good about the rest of his season?
I just need him to be consistent. So my teams are built to score around 120 points when everyone scores what they should. And so some players can dud and others can boom. So I'm looking for 120 points. And so A.J. Brown getting 11 points, which actually to me was a good sign. It was a good sign that he caught and had enough yards to get into the double digits. And so I think that it shows that he's got a solid position in this offense. And you saw that he must have been covered well because a lot of the targets were going to the tight end. I think that's going to be flipped in one of these weeks. I don't know which one, but I see better things ahead. I just need consistency from him. I don't need him to boom. So the way that I see it, the 11 points was solid. I think that might be enough to keep him there. I saw some regression with Michael Pittman. He was doing excellent every week and he didn't one week. So now I'm questioning, like, who do I put in? So it's going to be hard for me to sit A.J. Brown any week, even in a week where this is supposed to be a really great passing defense. It's just that the common knowledge seems to be failing today. Last week, the Giants and the Eagles, the common knowledge was the Eagles were going to destroy. It didn't happen. And so I'm not sure if I can trust where everybody else's head is. And sometimes I think it does help to be contrarian. Like I could have been more contrarian and started Swift instead of a Dunze, for instance, if I was looking for a different strategy. everyone's starting at Dunze. What if I put Swift in?
That's going to be very interesting to see. So my final matchup for this week that I am looking forward to, it's Denver versus the Giants. We are going to see if Cam Skattebo is truly for real. I think he caught a lot of people off guard performing that well. I do not expect him to repeat the 30-point performance that he did last week. I am expecting him to do really well, but I do think, and as we see here on the screen, I think Denver is pretty much going to destroy the Giants, I think. I mean, it's very hard to go up against Sean Payton. And you have someone at quarterback like Bo Nix who has been breaking out. He's having a very solid Phillip Rivers-like career. He's getting the job done. I believe Denver has one of the best defenses in the league. And so Cam Skattebo has really got to pretend that everything is the wall and just run through everything and hope to heck that he does not get injured. But I really do see Denver running away with this game, but I am positive and optimistic that Skattebo will score at least 20 points for me.
Wow. You heard it here first. Pedro, I owe you a soda if he scores 20 points. I mean, he's a bowling ball. And as long as he can hit the pins and not get injured, like you said, it's going to be okay. I think they're playing a brand of improvised football that most professional teams stay away from because it leads to giant mistakes, pun intended. So I believe that the Broncos can capitalize where the Eagles did not. So when they scramble, when they move, when they shift, when they hand the ball to Skattebo, they're going to be ready for it, and they're going to be able to strip the ball away from him. They're going to find ways to stop him. And if not, right now, youth is on his side for both of them, right? And that can only last so long. They should ride that until they can't. Right now, they have an advantage with their energy and their strength. I don't know how long that's going to last. Both of them are very dangerous players. The announcers were saying it too. Like, it's all fun and games until your star quarterback gets hurt. And so once Dart was out of the game, you saw how poorly that team was again with Russell Wilson in there, and Cam Skattebo couldn't run. So it all rests on Jackson Dart and making sure he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think that this game is basically scheme versus talent. Like I said earlier, the greatest players usually rise above from any type of situation. Like you see Trevor Lawrence, he is an amazing quarterback, primarily because Jacksonville is not that great of a team to play for. And so my bet is on this rookie, on Cam Skattebo, that he is one of the great players that will rise above any defensive scheme. So at least I'm hoping for that, because if not, then I'm not going to have a good week. But I feel pretty good that since he did break out against the defending Super Bowl champions, he might be able to get past Sean Payton this week. But I don't see the Giants winning this game.
It'll be interesting to see. The Denver Broncos may be the matchup they needed to bring them back down to earth. Pedro, let's talk about our Bears.
Yes.
We have a Week 7 matchup with the 1-5 New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears. In Week 5, the New York Giants were stopped by this team, the Saints, which was one of the biggest reasons why I thought Cam Skattebo was tradable. And so we'll see how that plays out. The Bears are coming off a massive win, but I wouldn't count out the New Orleans Saints because of how well they did against the New York Giants. I do think this is a throwing game. I think Adunze comes back. I think that our quarterback, Caleb Williams, could be another 20-pointer. He could be awesome in this. And so this is at Soldier Field. This could be one of the first times I've seen the Bears move into 4-2 in a very, very long time.
And that's what makes this game so dangerous for the Bears, because this is one of those games that I see where the Bears are supposed to win this game. And it's not just the Bears' bad luck. I've seen this time and time again where there's a team that is on the upswing and going against a team that is just not having a good time. And more often than not, the team that has been struggling ends up coming up on top. So I hope I'm wrong on this, but I am predicting that the Saints will pull this one out and defeat the Bears, only because I have seen these types of matchups before, and sometimes the bad teams will have a good week.
It's very true. It's a dangerous game. They can't let up. They should just keep scoring. All gas, no brakes. Swift's going to have another big day. He's in my lineup this week.
I don't want the Bears to lose. I want them to win.
Of course.
They should win.
But you're a Bears fan, and you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we know that the Bears can win against a great team and then lose against an awesome team. We saw it with the Detroit Lions and that ridiculous drubbing that happened. And so, okay, they beat the Cowboys, but that was the game CeeDee Lamb was injured. And since then, the Cowboys have regrouped and look like an excellent offensive team. So the Bears have another prove-it game versus the hapless Saints, who again stunned the Giants, who look like a team on the rise. And so we don't want the Bears to lose, but we're longtime Bears fans, and we've seen them fail when they shouldn't.
It's just one of those dangerous games where if I were a betting person, I would probably take the Saints because I've seen the patterns of teams that have been lowly, that have been struggling. They end up getting the upper hand on teams that we all think should win. And, you know, Spencer Rattler, when I had him on that 1 week, he actually did pretty decently. He scored me 13 points. So he's able to manage and get the job done. But I believe that their defense has just been pretty putrid. So I don't know if it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think this is going to be one of those games where the Bears do take a step back. I hope I'm wrong at that, but I'm seeing the Saints taking this one.
Let's hope not, Pedro.
I hope not either, but it's just, you know, I don't know if it's my Bears PTSD, but I don't. It's just,
I think it is. It totally is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Color Commentary Podcast. Please do all the things on social, like, follow, subscribe, download, find us on the internet under Color Commentary Podcast. We are a family-run business, and so we're just looking for you to get the word out. Tell them that Ramiro, Pedro, and Jason Martinez, aka Jamar, know what they're talking about here in Fantasy Football Landia.
Family owned and operated since 2025.